Hi, good afternoon, guys. Well, today is Ramblings episode 7. Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, I didn't upload last week. Now it's turned out to be bi-weekly, not bi-weekly. Once every fortnight. Yeah. Um so I think it's a good frequency, isn't it? Because I seem to be busy every other weekend or so, right? So yeah. Well, today's episode I was not going to record anyway for today, but good news, I got called to an interview. So and I have to prepare a mock teaching. So I was thinking today's episode, why not to go through that mock teaching presentation and see if there's anything that needs to be improved. Yeah. So if you guys watching and you think there's something that I need to improve, please feel free to comment on the feedback. Okay. All right. So let's get on with it, and we are going to okay. So the topic of the day is metaphor. Right. I'm gonna try to define and give some example of metaphor. The photo that we have here is actually a metaphor. If anyone could guess, time is money. Yes. So that is a metaphor, basically. So, okay, if you say yeah, so that's a metaphor, but what do you mean? What is a metaphor? So let's look at it. Okay, definition of metaphor. A metaphor is basically a figure of speech. Yeah, it makes comparison between two unlike things. Like you have two things that you don't think that you can actually compare, but it's compared. Okay, so that is basically what a metaphor is when it compares to unlike things. Okay, as a literary device, metaphor creates implicit comparisons without the express use of like or as. Okay, so it's a sentence comparing two things without the use of like or as. It's a means of asserting that two things are identical in comparison rather than just similar. Okay, and this is useful in literature for using specific images or concepts to state abstract truth. Yeah, so the imagery that you can get by using the metaphor is very useful in literature, because the concept that you want is then put into images into the reader's mind. Okay, so let's go on. Okay, for example, yeah, one of the most famous metaphors in literature is featured in Shakespeare, in a line from Romeo's and Juliet, Shakespeare's. Okay, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet, the sun. Okay, so in this metaphor, Juliet is compared to the sun. In fact, this figure of speech claims that Juliet is the sun. Of course, we as a reader understands that Romeo does not believe that Juliet is literally the sun. But instead, the comparison demonstrates the idea that Romeo equates Juliet with the beauty and awe and life-giving force of the sun. Okay, so to Romeo, symbolically Juliet, and the sun are the same. So that's what we have here. Okay. Now, let's look at common examples of metaphor. Okay, these are like common sayings that you hear all the times, okay, in life, right? And these, if you have not realized, these are actually metaphors, okay? So examples are like, she is just a late bloomer. It's a late bloomer. Late, and then that's a metaphor, okay? Is there a black sheep in your family? Okay, the color black and sheep. So what does a black sheep have to do with anything? But the image of black sheep is someone who is not accepted, or someone who's weird, or someone who is like exiled from the family, basically, isn't it? So black sheep. His heart of stone surprised me. Okay, if anyone would know, a heart is not made of stone, but a heart of stone will tell you someone who's hard-hearted, okay? Because stone is hard, okay? So that's a metaphor. Okay, I smell success in this building. Okay, the whole thing is a metaphor, the smelling, the success, and the building. Okay, how can you smell success in a building, right? So it's a metaphor. It's like you're comparing success to the smell that you have in this building. Okay. All right. He's buried in a sea of paperwork. Okay. I guess most of you and I would understand this, isn't it? We have been buried by a sea of paperwork since the start of COVID. We have been doing this and that, and this, it's like sea of work, basically, not just paperwork. Okay, so yeah, that's a metaphor. Another one is there is a weight on my shoulder. Okay, so you can imagine like a weight on your shoulder, right? That image. But what does it mean really? Like it means like you have a heavy burden on you. Yeah. Time is money, like the picture that I had started with. Okay, that actor is a tall drink of water. Yeah. This is basically to say the actor is really, really good looking. Okay, tall drink of water is like, you know, he's tall and good, good to the eye, basically, right? Age is a state of mind. Okay, state of mind is another metaphor. Last night I slept the sleep of the dead. Okay, all right, sorry about that. Got distracted. Okay, sleep of the dead. So this is just comparing your sleep to how deep the sleep was, and it's comparing like someone who's died. Okay, if they died, their sleep would be really deep, isn't it? So yeah, and then the new parents had stars in their eyes. Okay, so twinkling bling, all that bling bling in the stars in the eyes. Okay, so yeah, that is another image that we can see, like, you know, that tells you the emotion of the new parents. Okay, right. So these are just some of the example. So the next one, okay. So now we're going to talk about the difference between metaphor and simile. Okay, well, what is the difference? Okay, now it can be difficult in some instances to distinguish between a metaphor and simile as a literary device, because both are figures of speech designed to create comparison. Actually, simile is a subset of metaphor, you know. So metaphor is the umbrella and simile is under the umbrella of a metaphor. All right, so it's a type of metaphor, basically. Now, however, simile and metaphor are distinguished by the presence of one of two words. Okay, they are distinguished by the presence of like and as. Okay, metaphor create direct comparisons without using either of these words. It doesn't use like, it doesn't use as. It's always direct, like time is money, you know. Simile feature either like or as when making comparison. Okay, a good example, right? To distinguish between the two, we can actually take it from the movie adaptation of the novel Forrest Gump by Winston Groom. Okay, so one of the movie's theme is based on a comparison between life and a box of chocolates. Okay, the main character, Forrest Gump, quotes his mother, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you are going to get. So in this case, the comparison between life and a box of chocolates is a simile due to the presence of the word like. Okay, life is like a box of chocolate. Okay, so you're comparing and you're saying it's similar. Life and a box of chocolate is similar. Okay. Now, in a different scene, okay, the audience hear Forrest's mother say, okay, this is the mother saying, life is a box of chocolates, Forrest. You never know what you're going to get. Okay, so this comparison is a metaphor because there's no use of like here. Okay, both or as, there's no like or as, either was not used. So both quotes feature comparative figures of speech. But however, the uses of metaphor and simile create subtle differences in the meaning, comparing life to a box of chocolate. So very subtle differences, but that is there. Okay, so one is a metaphor, the other is a simile. Okay, so that's basic difference of a simile and a metaphor. Okay. Now, writing metaphor. Okay, so overall, as a literary device, metaphor functions as a means of creating a direct comparison between two seemingly different things. We have got that down, right? So this is effective for readers in that metaphor can create an association between two dissimilar entities or ideas. As a result of the metaphor, illuminate each other and deepen the meaning of both. Okay, so basically by using these two images, it's sort of that is so different from each other, it creates a hard, concrete image for the reader. Okay, so metaphor is an essential figure of speech for writers of both poetry and prose. So you can use it in a poem or you can use it in a prose form. Okay, now, it's important that writers construct proper metaphors so that the comparative meaning is not lost on the reader. Yeah, you cannot just really do it like I'm going to take two different things and I'm going to put them together and create a metaphor. Okay, so basically metaphors are dependent on the understandable combination of a principal term and a secondary term. So what is a principal term? Principal term conveys the concrete or literal entity. Okay, and the secondary term is used figuratively to add meaning. So for example, in the metaphor, the car was a lemon. So the principal term is a car. Okay, so we are using the car as a principal term, meaning we're describing a car. And then the secondary term is the lemon. Okay, the use of lemons here adds a figurative meaning for the car. Okay, if you guys don't know what a lemon, the car was a lemon, meaning the car was not so good. Okay, it looks nice, but it's very sour inside, or there's something wrong inside. That's why it's called a lemon. Okay, so that's what you mean. Okay, now, there are some ways that how a writer can benefits from that a writer benefits from incorporating metaphor into his or her work. Okay, first, it can create imagery, as I said. Okay, metaphors allows writers to create imagery for readers that is limited by description alone. So an effective metaphor eliminates the need for excessive explanation or description on the part of the writer. And by implicitly comparing two different things, an image is created for the reader to allow for greater meaning and understanding. Yeah, so this imagery is a powerful result of using metaphor as a literary device. So as I said before, it creates an image powerful enough to get through to the reader without using too many words. Okay, next, right? Another way that it will help a writer is that a metaphor would evoke thought and emotion. So when writers utilize metaphor as a literary device, it often causes the readers to think about the logic or truth in such comparison. So these thoughts in turn may evoke emotion in the reader with a successful metaphor through the realization that the comparison is valid. Okay, so this is especially effective in poetry as mean of portraying truth and a lyrical yet concise manner. Okay, so those are the ways that it benefits a writer. Okay, so let's just look at one example, basically examples of metaphor in literature. One example is example one. I thought I was giving more example and stop example one. So right. Example one is Fire and Ice from Robert Frost. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. Okay, so this is from the poem Fire and Ice from Robert Frost. Okay, in this poem, Frost compares end of world destructive forces to both fire and ice. So these are metaphors that serve as figures of speech, basically, in the sense that the poet does not literally mean the world will end because of fire and ice. Instead, fire represents destructive forces associated with desire, such as power, jealousy, and anger. And similarly, ice represent destructive forces associated with hate, such as prejudice, hostility, and isolation. Okay, so these metaphors are an effective literary device and that it causes the reader to consider that desire and hatred as destructive as fire and ice. Yeah, okay. So before we end, I would just like to go through a few exercises. You just identify the picture and figure out the metaphor. Right, so the first picture here, ha 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 ha, what do you call that? Yes, anyone? So yeah, it's laughter and the spills and bottles, capsules. Yep, medicine. Okay, so how can you combine this thing into a metaphor? Laughter is the best medicine. Yes. Okay, right? So laughter is the best medicine is the metaphor for this one. Okay, the next one, we have a picture of a man and an island. Okay, man, island. Okay, what is the metaphor then? Anyone? One can remember, I think this is like a normal, yeah. Okay, yes, no man is an island. If you think about that, yeah, that is the metaphor, correct. Okay, the next one, you have a picture of a blood and hand. Okay, blood and hand. Can you think of a metaphor that combine these two, blood and hand? Anyone can think of? So did anyone think of blood on their hands or blood on his hand or her hand or something like that? Yep. Okay, that's correct. Okay. Okay, so that is the lecture we have on metaphor today. All right. So that brings us the end of the topic. So if anyone have any suggestions or anything that you want to say about that short presentation on metaphor, please please give me a feedback on the comments or wherever you can get me on. Okay. All right. So to end today's vlog, I would just sing this song that I just linked to Phil this week because we were talking about something and it reminded me of the song. Okay, so I'm gonna end the vlog today with this song. It's The Woman Before Me by Trisha Yearwood. I can see you turn away when I ask what for. You say it isn't anything, but I'm not sure. Something underneath the skin won't let you be, and you try to keep it in. And I can see woman before me must have been hard on you. 'Cause that hurt in your eyes, I never put you through. Sometimes I think you must be talking to the woman before me and you. Sometimes in an argument, it will show you go a little farther than you meant to go. I know you don't mean the things that you say. I just want to ease the pain that's in your way. But the woman before me must have been hard on you. Is that hurt in your eyes? I never put you through. Sometimes I think you must be talking to the woman before me and you. There are sorrows that bring back a tear. Don't let them keep us apart. You ought to know you've got nothing to fear. Here in my heart, you and I will never be like the past, whatever kind of memories that you have. Nothing's gonna hurt me now. Can't you see? I already made a vow that I can keep. But the woman before me must have been hard on you. That hurt in your eyes, I never put you through. Sometimes I think you must be talking to the woman before me and you. Sometimes I think you must be talking to the woman before me and you. Okay, that's it for today. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks, I guess. Bye.